Sixers-Raptors game 2 of all the stars playing. In this one, Jimmy Butler was the featured attraction. He went off for 30 points and 11 rebounds in Philly's 94-89 road win. That series now tied at a game apiece. CC, you surprised the Sixers stole a win last night?
Not surprised, because Jimmy Butler, man, when you allow him to be aggressive, he was a primary ball handler in their offense for the most part of the game. Their bench helped them out. They don't have a good bench. And with Mike Scott being out, being able to get a win in Toronto, great team win. Good job coaching by Brett Brown. Great adjustments that he made in game number 2.
Defensively, Philly played almost a perfect game in the first half. Jimmy Butler was extraordinary throughout. They need Embiid to get healthier physically and intestinally.
He just had a little gas, man.
Well, no, it was a little worse than that.
Little bubble guts north of the board.
Ben Simmons seemed to expend all his energy on the defensive end. He was as poor offensively as you're going to see him play.
Yeah,
and
that's a good excuse.
Found a way to win.
Yeah.
It's not an excuse. It's what happened.
Sometimes it was 5-on-4.
It's just what happened.
The other game last night, Blazers Nuggets. Nikola Jokic poured in 37 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists. Denver getting the game 1 win, 121-113. Nick Wright, what did last night tell you about this series?
Look, Portland's got to play way better defensively. They didn't bring the intensity they brought on the defensive end against the Thunder 2 this series. And Jokic, hey man,
what?
He was great. Jokic, a guy who I think it's well documented went from so underrated he became overrated over the last week or so. He's playing like those fans in Denver would say the type of player that he is. He's playing the way a real superstar should play. He was sensational.
Yeah, he might not ever be great on the defensive end, but he's a special player. His ability to be able to pass, he has an awkward offensive game, can shoot the 3, has a low post game. The national scene just haven't seen him a lot, so he's improving. Still a very, very young player. He is the superstar on that franchise, and he's the guy that you have to key on and stop.
My beef with Jokic is defense independent wasn't a high volume enough scorer. Was outside the top 25 in scoring. Now in game 6 against the Spurs, he pours in 40+.
Then both of them, based on
as far as where they were drafted.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the Celtics-Bucks series now. This is what we know. Giannis has put together an MVP caliber season. This is what we don't know. Where was that caliber in the Bucks' Game 1 loss to Boston? The Greek Freak finished with just 22 points, stymied by the Celtics' lockdown defense. Here's Giannis on if he thinks the Bucks need to make any adjustments for Game 2 tonight in Milwaukee.
No, definitely not. We're just going to keep doing what we've been doing all year. I don't think there should be no change at all. What should be a change after a game that we lost? We should not be the team that make the adjustment. Even though we lost the first game, we're just going to come out and play our hardest. See how Game 2 go. If it doesn't go well for us, then you can think about adjusting. But right now, we're not adjusting nothing. We're just going to play. Be us. We go out there and compete.
What do you think, Nick? Is Giannis right that this team doesn't need to make any adjustments? Maybe get their shots to fall, but no adjustments?
There might be some minor tweaks I would make, like Pat Connaughton maybe isn't going to get as long of a leash as he got in Game 1. I would look at how the Celtics adjusting their starting lineup might adjust the way I come out, not with my lineup, but with my initial opening sets. But I totally agree with Giannis. There's a reason this team won 49 games by double digits. There's a reason this team had the #1 defense. There's a reason he is going to finish first or second in the MVP voting. Everything that happened in Game 1 was unlike Milwaukee Buck basketball. The #1 defense in the league allowed the Celtics to have their best shooting night since the All-Star break. Giannis had his worst game. Worst game he's had, lowest percentage from 2, fewest makes from 2, fewest makes in the paint of any game all season. That is not duplicable, and a team that had #3 offense could not make an open 3-point shot. So maybe C's going to disagree, but I think it would be foolish for the Bucks to overreact to what was an outlier performance by their best player, an outlier performance by their defense, and an outlier performance by their shooters. Trust who you are. If this happened in Game 4 of the series, no one would say the Bucks should remake who they are. The Bucks also, I think, were damaged by, and they didn't really have to play playoff basketball in the first round. They played Detroit. Detroit's happy to be there. They didn't have Blake the first 2 games. They had a hampered Blake the next 2 games. So the Bucks got punched in the face with playoff intensity. They will come out and look like the Milwaukee Bucks tonight, playing the way they've played all year.
The last 4 seasons, we've heard LeBron James say the regular season doesn't matter. Everything's totally different in the postseason. So we have seen teams, and the same coach that's coaching Milwaukee Bucks and coached them to all them wins this year, 4 years ago, he coached the Atlanta Hawks to 60 wins. And they end up losing to LeBron James, getting swept. So it's a 60-win team that didn't advance to the NBA Finals. They're one of the few teams. So can this happen again? I believe it can happen again. You have to always make adjustments. If you're not playing, they didn't blow out the Celtics in the first game. So them 49 games where they blew teams out, they didn't play that way. So, Nick, we talked about Houston. Oh, they're not going to make adjustments. Sports is about adjustments. And you can't wait till you get down 2-0, make adjustments. The good teams make adjustments in games, New England, or after a game, and I believe that they will. And the adjustment can be simple as this. Let's get back to the style we played during the regular season. That would be an adjustment from game number 1. It's not that complicated. Giannis doesn't have a whole bunch of playoff experience. So for me, for him, if he missed on this, would I be surprised? No. If you look at all the younger players in the playoffs, they have struggled with being consistent. That's Joel Embiid, that's Giannis, that's Ben Simmons.
Yep.
I mean, but the veteran players, Kawhi, KD, and some of those others, you have seen them be consistent. So I can't expect Giannis to have this figured out. But in the back of my mind, I am looking back. Hey, Coach Bud, now, you did have a 60-win team in the Hawks.
But that 60, they made the conference finals. They didn't get swept early. They made the conference finals. They lost to a really good Cavs team.
I think it's very important that the fans know that that guy coaching the number 1 seed also coached a 60-team with the Hawks. Because I don't believe people put those things together.
No, I understand that, but I don't want it to seem like I think most people looked at that Hawks team as they achieved their maximum level of success. Yes, they were the 1 seed, but they didn't have LeBron. They didn't have Kyrie. They made it to the conference finals. Now, maybe getting swept was a disappointment, not having more resistance against that Cavs team, but LeBron was running over the Eastern Conference for a decade. I think that the Bucks looked at the game film from game 1 and said, man, we make those shots. And Boston doesn't make those shots.
All those things are true.
Now, does Giannis...
How are they going to clear out that lane for Giannis, though, so he can make that Euro step, so he can take those 2 dribbles from half court?
So they need to get back to playing faster.
Okay.
But to me, I guess maybe we're just disagreeing on what an adjustment is in this regard. The Bucks... What they didn't do well was the pace they played.
How many points they score in game number 1?
Not a problem throughout the regular season.
They got to get back to that pace.
Yeah, of course. But that is not. I think the Bucks can say. And to me, a team
if we do a bad show and we end up having a meeting with our bosses and everything, ultimately it's going to come back to, man, how many shows do we have in the bag where we did great? So let's get back to what we did, which is an adjustment. Maybe you like to call it something else. But doing what you do, and if you're not doing it, you have to adjust to be able to get back to that. Even if you've had 5 or 6 months, the intensity's different. Every shot is more contested. The refereeing is different. So how do I do that in this new environment? That's the trick for young teams.
Then I think you actually agree with Giannis, because I think all Giannis was saying is we need to play the way that got us here, the way we played all year. We were not able to execute that in game 1 against Boston. We don't need to reinvent ourselves. We need to be the team that blew out teams 49 times this year, that had the best defense in basketball, and where Giannis played like an MVP.
And it's important to note, he did go on to say, now if we play like that in 2 games, then we will actually have to.
Well, if they lose tonight, they're in really bad shape.
All right, coming up, did the Sixers prove they can win the East last night? That's ahead on First Things First.